Would you rather eat this or have this schedule? I should start with the most obvious, lunch. Both the lunches cost $3 to $5, but while you can choose everything you want to eat in American schools, the only thing you can choose in the French school lunch is the appetizer. Because yes, you have an appetizer every day. It can be grated carrots, salads, or even soups when it's cold outside. After the appetizer, you have the main course. You have the proteins such as roast chicken, fish fillet, or beef steak. Then you have the sides, such as green beans, ratatouille, mashed potatoes, lentils, or pasta. For the dessert, we usually had fruit and yogurt. And if I have a good memory, we could have pizza or french fries once a month. But I was lucky, because in my school, we had eclairs maybe once a week. We had every dish on a glass plate on a tray that was going to be reused. All of that served with bread and water, since other drinks were actually banned. I remember every time someone would break a glass or plate, everyone in the cafeteria would clap. I don't know why we did it. You got a second serve of food if you were fast enough to shove your food in like Luffy. Because even though we literally had 1 hour to eat, people could always take second serves in no time. The portions were very fair, honestly, and you could have a second serve without paying additionally. Bringing money to school was not allowed anyway. Then I moved to the US. Even though the French lunch sounds nice and all, when I was living in Mauritius, I always brought my lunchbox with me and would eat the school lunch only when they had paninis. So for the first day of school in the US, I brought my lunchbox. And I did not regret it. Even though sometimes fast food may seem appetizing, it doesn't look yummy in high schools. And I could just never eat hamburgers, hot dogs, and chicken nuggets every day anyway. But the thing that surprised me the most was that everyone drinks milks in cartons instead of water. Everything was directly in plastic trays, which I must say are more logical within the 25 minutes we have to eat. And that is something I had to get used to. In France, lunch is actually treated like a real break. In America, it's just like one small part of a much shorter day, which brings me to probably the biggest difference between the two, the schedule. In Florida middle schools, classes start around 8 or 9 and end around 4. We have no breaks, except the 25 minutes of lunch. In France, schools usually start around 7:45 and ends around 5, sometimes even later. I even heard that in some French high schools, students have to go to school on Saturday mornings. The good thing though is that we usually get a 1 hour lunch break and sometimes even 2 whole hours. Wednesdays are also half days, but all of that extra time has to go somewhere, and in France it usually means more classes. You can have up to 8 classes a day, and some of them last 2 hours. Another big difference is the class size. In France, it's normal to have around 30 students in one classroom, while here in the US, my classes usually have only 20 students. And instead of making your own schedule like in America, your entire class stays together all day. You all move from classroom to classroom as one group, taking the exact same subjects in the exact same order. In the US, everyone has a different schedule, so you're constantly meeting different people throughout the day. When I first moved here, I could not remember anyone's names because I kept seeing different people in every single class. In France, you spend the whole day with the same classmates, so you learn everyone's name pretty quickly. Classes in the US are usually around 15 minutes long, and in Florida, you can only have up to 7 classes a day. I honestly think that gives you a lot more time to do homework. In the US, homework is often just not finished classwork or assignments you can even finish during class if you work quickly. That does not mean you never get a lot of homework. Some teachers forget they're not the only class we have. In France, first of all, we don't have computers. We write all of our homework in our paper school agendas, and most of the homework comes from paperwork books, and teachers usually check and grade it the very next day. In the US, you sometimes have 2 or even 3 days to finish an assignment. In France though, you get homework pretty much every day. And if you're wondering how teachers manage to give homework every single day and still grade it all by the next morning, is because French teachers are on a completely different level of strictness. That is one thing I am so happy about. Teachers in the US are just so nice, and even when they're strict, it's never like a French science teacher. In my experience, American teachers are much more approachable. They're usually willing to answer questions, help you after class, and have casual conversations with students. French teachers, on the other hand, can be a lot more intimidating. Not all of them, of course, but I always felt more pressure in French classrooms. You definitely think twice before forgetting your homework or showing up unprepared. For example, we had a cross system, where every time you did something bad, you would get a cross. And after 3 crosses, you would have detention. One time, I almost got detention just because I forgot my pencil case. Which is funny, because almost every kid in a school in the US just brings a pencil, or nothing. Almost every time I knew the answer to the question the teacher asked. In the US, I would always answer. But in France, I was scared to even raise my hand. I only had a few teachers I wasn't scared of. Now that I think back on it, my fear was probably irrational. But the teachers themselves were just intimidating. And because of that, discipline felt very different too. In France, there seemed to be much less tolerance for things like forgetting materials, talking during class, or not doing your homework. The rule felt stricter, and so were the consequences. In the US, I was so much happier to know I could get detention only if I was in a fight. And I promise you that is not going to happen. But discipline wasn't the only thing that added pressure in French schools. The grading system did too. Because while American schools use letter grades, French schools use something completely different. A 20-point grading system. In the US, a very good grade starts at an 80% most of the time. Well, in France, a very good grade is a 50 out of 20. Which is, if I do the math correctly, is a 75%. And the class average is usually an 11 out of 20. I'll let you do the math. Of course, those averages don't come out of nowhere, and if you're ever taking a French test, you'll understand why. If you take a test on the past tense, well, you have to remember stuff by heart, which is less the case in the US, where the teachers want you to understand. In France, they mostly just want you to learn stuff by heart. And honestly, that is a good summary of the two school systems. French schools tend to focus more on academics and result, while the American schools focus a lot more on the overall student experience. Before moving to the US, I thought lockers were something that only existed in movies. In France, at least in the school I attended, students usually carried all of their books around with them. But in the US, almost everyone had a locker, decorates it, and usually uses it throughout the day. Nowadays, I realize less and less people have lockers because most of the textbooks are online. But even if lockers are becoming less common, they still completely change the feel of the hallways. In my middle school, we didn't have any hallways since we're in Florida. We had to change classes by going out. But in high school, the hallways were really pretty. The walls had flyers, posters, and corkboards everywhere. Most of the flyers were for clubs, another thing that never existed in France. Right now in my school, I have cheerleaders, the band, and even an orchestra and a dance team. Another thing that surprised me was phones. You'd think American schools would be stricter, but it's actually the opposite. In French, phones are basically forbidden. Here, most teachers are pretty chill about them as long as you're not scrolling TikTok in the middle of class. And it's little differences like these that really add up. The lunches, the schedule, the teachers, the grading system, even the hallways. They all make French and American schools feel completely different. After going to both, I don't think one system is better than the other. Each has things I love and each has things I'd happily leave behind. So, would you rather have American lunches or French schedules?